A very good evening. You're watching IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Ritvika Gupta. Tonight we'll have two distinct conversations, one with Amazon India and the second one with Perfetti Melle India. Now, Amazon has launched Amazon Air, making it the first e-commerce company in India to have a dedicated air cargo network. What's the motivation behind it and how is it going to benefit smaller, medium-sized businesses? We'll be in conversation with Abhinav Singh, Director Customer Fulfillment, Supply Chain and Amazon Transportation Services, Amazon India. Thank you so much, Abhinav, for joining us.
Thank you, Ritvika. Thank you so much for your time.
Now, Amazon has launched Amazon Air. So to begin with, tell us the objective behind this launch and what does the company hope to achieve, with this initiative?
So at Amazon, Ritvika, we start from the customer and work backwards. We are always looking for ways to increase speed of the millions of items that we carry on our website. The Amazon Air launch is geared towards doing just that. With this, we will be able to improve the speed of delivery to our customers across the country, and also we'll be able to make sure that in times of capacity constraints in the market, for example during Diwali, the customers on Amazon will continue to receive fast promises. It's going to enable millions of sellers, over 1.1 million sellers will be able to reach their customers with fast promises, and of course it's going to help from an ancillary industry perspective, whether it's ground handling or all the associated industries with an aviation launch. So super exciting times. So
Abhinav, tell us, where will Amazon Air operate? Is it going to be pan-India, or to begin with there will be just a few selected cities?
So we already partner with every single airline domestically in India, Vistara, Indigo, Air India, SpiceJet, to name a few. And we have a very extensive air network. That air network would continue to operate. Additionally, this network is going to supplement that network with dedicated capacity. To start with, it will be between Delhi, Bombay, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. That's where we see the most demand. But as we see the network utilization and as the demand goes up, that may change. To start with is Hyderabad, Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore.
Abhinav, tell us, how do you think this will impact smaller, medium-sized businesses? How will it benefit your sellers?
So I'm very glad you asked that question, Ritvika. I think the Amazon goal over the last many years, since we started operation in India, is to empower the small and medium businesses. The millions of sellers on our platform who reach millions of customers because of the enabling infrastructure that we've built, not just from a e-commerce website perspective, but also from the point of view of the logistics network. Today, we operate in every single state. We deliver to every single postcode in India, be it the high rises of Mumbai or the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. There is no single postcode in the country that we don't deliver to. And this extensive infrastructure investment helps sellers reach millions of customers. Today, a small seller who's selling handicraft based out of Uttar Pradesh can reach customers as far away as Andaman Nicobar or the Northeast with ease. The aircraft's fleet is going to help in accelerating that journey because they will be able to give faster promises to their customers, which in turn will help in their customers buying more. So it's just another enablement of an existing vast infrastructure that we've laid out in India over the last 9 years of operation.
At this point, Abhinav, I also want to ask you about the logistics industry in India, if you can give us an overview. And how does the industry have an impact on e-commerce? If you can talk to us about some of the challenges and perhaps what can be done to, improve ease of business?
Logistics in India, we've seen very large-scale improvement over the last few decades. Over the last few years, the government has a stated aim of reducing the cost of logistics as a percentage of GDP from the high of 14% that it was to low single digits, which is what a lot of developed countries have. When we get there, it's going to not only help in ease of doing business, but it's also going to accelerate things like exports because the cost of production is going to go down. So this initiative or this mental model that the cost of logistics as a percentage of GDP needs to come down is very powerful. And they are working very diligently in that direction, whether it's the National Logistics Policy or it is the PM Gati Shakti program. I think the mental model is absolutely right. Focusing on building infrastructure, which is going to help ease the connectivity, using technology to build more efficient systems, improving visibility, reducing the time lag. So I think from the enabling infrastructure and mental model and policy framework perspective, we are moving in the right direction. The big building blocks that we should continue to invest in is how do we leverage our extensive waterways in a meaningful way. Water transport is significantly cheaper than other modes of transport. How do we get better at multimodal transportation where we can transition from water, rail, road through containers? With Amazon itself, we have a very strong partnership with Indian Railways, which we've worked on for the last 5 or 6 years. And how do we leverage railways as an ecosystem even more across the country? So I think the policy framework is in the absolute right direction, and need to continue to invest in areas like waterways, railways, multimodal transportation to be able to get to the vision of a single-digit percentage GDP from a logistic cost perspective. E-commerce, it's a super exciting time in India. We haven't even scratched the surface of day one, as we say here at Amazon. And that's because there are millions of customers who are yet to try e-commerce. And every single day, the demographic dividend that we have in India, more and more people are coming online. More and more people want to experience the convenience of e-commerce, be able to buy things which otherwise were inaccessible because of the limitations of physical retail. So it's super exciting times. I think from a long-term outlook perspective, I'm exceptionally optimistic about e-commerce in India.
So I believe India is the third market where Amazon Air has been launched. While I've read about the drone service elsewhere, is that something that you also foresee coming into India? Or what are the trends like, as far as delivery is concerned? What can consumers expect?
You're absolutely right. India is indeed the third market after North America and Europe where we've launched Amazon Air. We launched Amazon Air in 2016 in the US, and today we have a fleet of 110 aircraft connecting 70 destinations across the world. And it's just one more step in our investment from an India infrastructure perspective. And, we are exceptionally optimistic about India, and we want to continue to invest in India. And this is just one more step in that direction. To your question on drones, it's an exceptionally hard problem to solve. A lot of it has to do with how structured addresses are and how are you able to, do it in a safe way so that customers really get the benefit of that kind of faster delivery. So a straight answer to your question is, I don't know when, but at the right time, we'll certainly invest in it.
And finally, tell us, how do you think Amazon Air will be a game changer for Amazon India and its stakeholders?
We always work from the customer and then work our way backwards. Amazon Air is going to allow customers, enable them to order everything that they like at a much faster promise than they are used to. They'll be able to order for longer periods of time in the day. They'll be able to order millions of ASINs faster during Diwali. There will be no degradation in speed. So from that perspective, it's going to be a game changer from a customer experience standpoint. And truth be told, that's what we work towards. How can we make the experience of our customers better every single day? We believe that that is what accelerates our flywheel of price, convenience, and selection. We work obsessively over making the price, convenience, selection better for our customers every single day. And this initiative really improves the convenience access of price, selection, and convenience. And we are very sure that customers are going to love it.
Well, it was lovely chatting with you, Abhinav. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ritvika. Thank you so much for your time.
It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. And right now we'll be putting the spotlight on the FMCG industry with a special focus on the confectionery sector. I'll now be in conversation with Rajesh Ramakrishnan, Managing Director, Perfetti Melle, India. Thank you so much, Rajesh, for joining us today.
Thanks, Ritvika, for having me in this. It's an absolute pleasure.
So the theme for our show this season is Ideas for New India. And I would like to begin this interview by asking you to tell us some of your big ideas that you have for the FMCG industry and for your business in New India.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are changing around us, as you know. And especially given the pandemic, things have only got accelerated. I think if you look around us, there are some fundamental things that will continue to remain, although they'll get redefined as we go along. For example, value. Consumers have always sought value, but what that value means, the definitions have been changing over time. I think after pandemic, consumers are gravitating more towards brands that they trust. So trust becomes a very important part of value. Or they have been moving towards health. And therefore, any brand that can afford or give fortification in an affordable manner, that goes up in value. So I think value is one big thing that we are seeing. The other is the use of technology. Today consumers are seeking experiences, and what better than metaverse, for example, to provide them with great experiences. And we are all still learning in this space, and consumers are also experimenting. And the good news is marketeers and brands are also experimenting. So there is a lot of very interesting work that we are seeing with respect to the metaverse, which will pave the way for some really good experiences that get provided to consumers as we go along. So these are a couple of big things that I'm seeing around us in the FMCG space.
So last year saw pressure on profit margins. The rural demand remained also subdued. Tell me, what is your perspective on the industry this year, especially with the global recession, reaching our shores? How do you think this will impact the FMCG industry?
Yeah, while you're right about, there is recession happening in certain parts of the world, I believe that the market in India still continues to remain buoyant, especially in the FMCG space. And when I speak to some of my counterparts in other companies, and also given our own performance, there is a pretty healthy growth happening as far as top lines are concerned. And I think somewhere the rural demand has also started coming back, thanks to good monsoons and thanks to some work that is being done in developing the infrastructure as far as rural markets are concerned. So from that perspective, top line growth, I think, is there, continues to be there, and I think that is good news for us as we go forward. However, from a challenge point of view, it's going to be the bottom line. Because as you all know, there is a lot of pressure on the commodity pricing. Global inflation is at all-time high. So many of the raw materials that we use, many of the packed materials that we use, the prices are really, really high. And that is a cause of concern for everybody because that has a direct impact on the bottom line. So a lot of companies are seeing the growth happening, but profitable growth, driving that in a sustainable and consistent manner is going to be the real challenge.
Rajesh, the disruptions in global consumer and supply chain markets are really challenging established business models. What are you doing to stay ahead in the game?
I mean, you're right. Today the market is a big one global market, right? So we are no longer insulated or isolated as separate countries. So all of us need to sort of evolve and change our game as we go forward. So for example, from a supplier point of view, one of the key things is how can I reduce my dependency on import? So can I find local suppliers for pretty much all that I use? So that is one strategy that companies adopt. The other is, can I find alternate multiple suppliers for the same raw material, pack material, so that I'm not dependent on one country or one supplier, and if there is a problem, for example, in Ukraine, I'm not stuck because I can't import anything. So there are various mechanisms that are being used, and then of course use of techniques like reverse auction, so that we can get the best price for the same commodity that we are buying. So these would be some of the techniques that are being used by companies to see how we can work around the challenges and the unpredictability due to global situations.
And if you could also share, how much of the online and offline sales contribute to the overall revenue, and what role does e-commerce play in your business in terms of really penetrating into markets that were perhaps not easily accessible a few years ago?
See, we are in a confectionery category, and as you can imagine, the salience of confectionery in the e-commerce space is very, very small. Why is that? Principally because of the price points. So we operate, for example, Perfetti, 75% of our sale comes from the 1 rupee mono pack. Now, consumers typically go to e-commerce sites when they're buying big ticket items or they're buying part of their grocery basket. So one of our strategic intent is to say, how can I become more and more part of the shopping basket and get consumers to stock our product at home, and what gets stocked gets consumed. So that's one big part of the strategy. The other part of it is to uptrade consumers to higher price points. So to give you an example, our e-commerce price points are like 150, 200, even 300. So how do we go up the price point so that we're able to deliver unique product offerings to the consumer and make money and get them to actually visit the e-commerce sites for confectionery shopping as well.
Is Perfetti Melle also venturing into new segments this year, new products or new innovations? What can you tell us?
See, I think our core strength is in confectionery. We are market leaders in India with more than 25% market share, and we've been consistently consolidating our market share. So, moving away from our core competency is not something that we want to do. However, within the confectionery space, we believe there are a lot of opportunities to innovate. Innovation is part of our DNA. It's a very, very integral part. And we've been doing many things to actually provide consumers with kind of offerings that will make them think, hey, I never thought of this before. So let me give you an example. We have a product which we launched recently, which is Center Fruit tennis ball shaped gum. The texture of the product is like a tennis ball, and it's got a lovely filling inside, which is a pineapple flavored filling. Now, this is a kind of product which is not available in India. It's the first of its kind in India. So this is a product that has been extremely well received by consumers, and we are all very happy with the kind of offering that we were able to give them. So that's one example of it. Another recent example, if I may talk, is Center Fresh. Recently for the Valentine's Day, we launched a product which is 2 rupee Center Fresh gum. But it has got the first product of its kind in India to actually have a QR code on it. So what happens is, the insight is today's youth are wanting to express themselves, but sometimes are not very comfortable expressing themselves, especially to the opposite gender. So here is an opportunity for them, and music is universal. So what you can do is you scan the QR code on the pack. It takes you to a website, a microsite, where you can personalize your playlist and dedicate it to your loved one. And there is an element of hyper personalization where the names, around 35,000 names, are already logged into the system. It's in 8 languages, and it really allows you to customize to a large extent. And the tie-up is with JioSaavn, which has given us access to almost 35,000 songs. So over the last few weeks, we've had almost 300,000 downloads of people scanning the code and sort of getting it, dedicating the song. And if you really look at it, it's a jukebox at ₹2. So the whole point is, can we introduce concepts and products to consumers which will make them sit up and think, I didn't think of this before, and that truly provides an element of customer and consumer delight.
So, the pandemic also showed us consumers were inclining towards more health-oriented products. Is that a growing focus too for your company?
See, ultimately, I believe that we need to provide consumers with choices, right? Everybody is capable of making choices, but it's important as an organization and as a brand to provide choices. So if you see, for example, Happy Dent has a huge range of sugar-free products. Some consumers might choose to eat sugar-based products, some might choose the sugar-free, but it's important to give that option. Similarly, on Alpenliebe Just Jelly, we have 25% fruit pulp. On Center Fresh, we have a whole range which provides 60-minute clean breath. So again, the point is to give them those options, to give them those choices, and let the consumer decide what they want to do. But to your point, I think moving in the direction of overall health and well-being is certainly on the agenda.
Finally, Rajesh, tell us, as a leader, what have been your biggest takeaways from the last couple of years, your biggest learnings?
I think, I picked up photography about 15, 17 years ago, and it has tremendously helped me in my work as well. Just to give you a few thoughts on that one, I think photography, I'm an engineer, and I believe I have a very analytical and logical mind. Photography has helped me open up the right side of my brain, and then I start looking at my work-related issues also in a much more creative fashion to find more creative solutions. So I think that's one. The second is, before you take a picture, we typically look at the subject from multiple perspectives before we shoot. I think the same logic applies when you have some issues at work or indeed non-work, where you look at the problem with multiple perspectives before you decide what is it that you need to do about it, right? And the best solution comes. The third learning I would say is photography is all about connect. If you're able to connect with the subject, if you're like I love street photography, if you're able to build that connect and rapport with people, you get some amazingly brilliant shots. The same thing with work as well. If as a leader I'm able to connect well with my team, I can get the best out of them, and that really results in some very, very good business results as well. So from multiple perspectives, I have at least found photography to be of immense use to me. The last one I'd say, which is one of my favorites, is composition is all about what you keep in the picture and what you leave out of the picture. So sometimes people forget it's also important to leave that lamppost out of the picture so that it doesn't stick out of your head. The same thing applies in strategy. Strategy is about making a choice on what are the areas that you would like to focus on, but equally importantly, what are the areas that you do not want to focus on. So in many ways, I see a lot of similarities between photography and leadership, and I've managed to put that to good use in my work as well.
Well, it was great chatting with you. Thank you so much, Rajesh.
Thanks, and likewise.
With that, it's a wrap on this episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. Thank you and goodbye.